Most of us have heard of 4-H, but many people think that 4-H is something for farm kids, people who grow up on farms. That's not the case. Let's find out about 4-H here in Butler County. Amy Metrick is the 4-H educator. Now, Amy, what is 4-H?
So 4-H is a community of youth from ages 8 to 18 that take different projects in different areas. They use those skills that they learn to become outstanding adults in our community.
Was 4-H originally mostly for farm kids?
Yeah, it started out in 1912, and it was mostly an ag-related club. Today we have moved on, and we now have sewing and cooking projects. We have robotics, we have photography. Pretty much anything you can think of, we can find you a project.
And what age group is eligible?
So to be in 4-H, you must be between the ages of 8 and 18 by January 1st of the current year. And we do have Clover Buds, which are kids ages 5 to 8. Same idea, January 1st of the current year, you must be that age. And those Clover Buds are kids, they get to learn the different areas that 4-H has to offer. So that way, whenever they do become eligible to become a regular 4-H member, they know what they might want to take.
I suppose there are many organizations that parents can get their children involved with. Why would a parent want to have a 5-year-old join 4-H?
Well, these little kids, they get to experience being with other adults and with other kids their age. They get to learn communication skills, responsibility, respect when they're that age. And then as they get older, they learn leadership skills and some more life skills, respect, responsibility, things that they can take with them.
Let's talk about the older kids. What kind of advanced projects are they involved with?
So those kinds of kids are big things in our area right now are livestock projects. Pigs, sheep, cattle, goats, rabbits, poultry. We have projects in all those areas, and kids keep detailed record books on them. They have to create a budget. They have to follow that budget. They have goals they have to set and they have to meet. If they have a dairy cattle, for instance, they have to keep track of milk production. So this week she milked so many pounds. Next week she was down. Why was she down? Keep track of those records. Same with the beef cattle, the other type of livestock. Hey, we gave them this type of vaccine on this date. Keep record of that and all that stuff to help them in the future whenever they're doing books and records and taxes and things like that. Kind of gives them an up on that.
But we had said earlier that this is not just for farm kids. Would any city kids be interested in those animals?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do we have the animal projects that you could potentially lease a project through someone, but we also have cooking, sewing, robotics, and photography. The sewing projects, you don't need to have an ag background, neither with the cooking nor the robotics or photography. Anybody can do those projects. Same goes for the livestock projects. Anybody can do those as long as you have somewhere you can keep them. We can find you a spot.
I would imagine robotics would be pretty enticing for a lot of kids. What kind of projects do you have, and just what do you do in those programs?
So for the robotics, they have a kit. They create a robot. They make it do different things. They program it with the computer, and then they take it to competitions. So a few weeks ago, they actually had a competition, and the kids did very well. They had an older kid who was not age eligible for the competition they were at. That was their coach. They had to make the robot do a race in a circle, much like a track meet, and they ended up actually winning that. So they were very happy with themselves.
This sounds like many of the programs that the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts organizations have. Why would someone choose 4-H to do some of those?
We offer a lot of opportunities outside of just our regular club meetings. Kids get to go to Penn State for a few different workshops. We have the State Leadership Conference in January. We have Capitol Days in March where they get to go to the Capitol, they get to debate a bill, a mock bill, and they also get to go to State Achievement Days here at the end of July, and that is where they get to show off their projects and their knowledge and what they have learned throughout their years. Then we also have Animal Science Camp for our livestock kids where they get to go once again to Penn State. And there they actually get to go through the different colleges there and what they have to offer, and they get to look at, tagging pig ears and different things like that.
What is the relationship between Penn State University and 4-H here in Butler County?
So 4-H is governed by Penn State Extension, which is governed by the College of Ag at Penn State. Penn State is our land-grant university here in the state. And in 1914, I believe, they created the Smith-Lever Act that created the cooperative extension, and the land-grant universities are in charge of those.
You had said something earlier that leadership is very important, a part of your program. Tell us what you do to make somebody a leader.
So these kids in each club, they have officers. There is president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and news reporters. Those kids run the meeting. The president does all the motions and all of that. Vice president steps up, takes their place. Secretaries keep minutes, roll call, reads those minutes. Treasurer does the same thing with the money. They have reports that they present to the club. And then the news reporter writes up a little bit that goes into our monthly newsletter that we put out. So not only do we have that, but we also have these different conferences the kids can go to, that they can go to workshops and learn and hone their skills.
Now, you have some youngsters 5 years old and some going up as high as 18 years old. Is there any intermixing, and do the 18-year-olds somehow get involved with some of the younger programs?
Yes, so actually the 8 to 18-year-olds, they meet on a monthly basis, most of them. Some of them meet more often. But at the Butler Fair, we have the petting zoo, and a lot of the times those Cloverbud groups will mix with our older groups so they can kind of work together and get what needs done.
You have a summer camp program, too.
That is correct. We just finished that up here. And what it is the kids go away for 4 days. They have fellow 4-Hers that are their counselors, and also those counselors put on workshops for the kids. So those kids get to learn from those kids about what 4-H is all about, and also learn those leadership skills, life skills that they may need.
I would imagine there are some families that can't afford sending their children to camp. What do you do?
So here in Butler County, we pay 75% of the registration fee for kids to go to any state, local, regional, and even some of the national events. Now, if those kids can't pay that remaining 25%, they can talk to us here. We'll talk to our development committee, who is in charge of our program, and we will see what we can do to make sure that kid gets the experience to go.
Where's the summer camp?
So this year, we actually had it at Camp Crestfield in Slippery Rock. It was the first year at that facility. The kids really enjoyed it, and they had a great time.
What do they learn by going to camp?
They get to learn how to be away from mom and dad, be responsible for themselves, and having to keep a schedule and get to be where they need to be on time.
Is there an age group, or does every age group from 5 to 18 go to camp?
So our campers are ages 8 to 14, and then our counselors are ages 15 to 18. So those younger kids are being watched over by those older kids.
Amy, I understand you have 2 very important auctions up here.
We do, yes. Our first one is the Butler County Junior Livestock Sale. It is always held the Thursday of Butler Farm Show. We are starting at 6 p.m. And what happens there is these kids that raise the livestock projects, the beef, the poultry, the goats, the rabbits, the pigs and sheep, they all are auctioned off that night. And anybody can come. They can bid on an animal, and the highest bidder gets to take home that animal. And then we also have in October, it's going to be October 13th this year, 2018, and it will be at the East Butler Fire Hall. We will have our benefit auction, and that is baskets or handmade crafts, whatever, gift cards that people have donated to 4-H, and the money from that raise goes to send kids to camp, local, regional, state, and even national events.
Let's see now, if someone wants to join, do you have a website or something, some number they can call to get in touch with you?
We do, yes. They can call here at the Penn State Extension Office of Butler County. Our phone is 724-287-4761, or they can find us online at extension.psu.edu/Butler.
Now, you have some leadership people here, some adults who are part of the leaders. We want to talk to at least one leader, so let's get right to that. Thanks, Amy, for having us over.
Thank you.
There are a number of leaders in 4-H here in western Pennsylvania, here in Butler County, and Harold Dunn from Mount Chestnut is a leader and also a parent of at least one 4-H member. What kind of a group do you have, Harold?
Well, it's quite a diverse group, both in age, of course, ages 8 to 18, and our kids carry all kinds of different projects. Whatever their heart desires, they find a place for it in 4-H.
Yours is particularly an agricultural club, isn't it?
That's correct. And generally, all forms of livestock, dairy, poultry, bunnies, horses, you name it. Whatever the kids desire to choose as a project, we try to provide them with a information and hopefully some expertise to help them with their projects.
Well, we've learned that 4-H is not just for farm kids, but because yours is an agricultural club, are they mostly farm kids?
I would say they're rural, but there probably are very few, if any, of their parents farming full-time. We have a lot of urban kids as well as rural kids.
Why would the urban kids want to join an agricultural club?
Well, I think it's just an opportunity for them to grow, develop leadership skills alongside of carrying projects. It's a great youth development tool, and their parents a lot of times have been involved perhaps in the past, so they support our activities.
Well, Harold, what do you do when there's a club meeting once a month and all those kids come?
Well, first of all, we have to find a place to host it. We've outgrown a couple different facilities over the years. We just, this past week, actually on Tuesday, met at a farm out in Prospect. And so we had lots of room for the kids to stretch out on the grass. It was a beautiful evening, and we helped the kids with some showmanship with lambs that they're going to have exhibiting at the fair. And oftentimes we'll meet at a local church out in Prospect also.
In this modern day and age of electronics and all the communication we have, is there still an interest in something as simple as agriculture?
Every day. We all eat every day. So one way or another, we're all involved with agriculture every day of our lives, as producers and consumers.
Are you surprised that there are 60 members of your organization?
No. We had a big group of kids kind of migrate out. They were 18 years and older, and we've got a big group of young people coming in right now. So it's exciting. We try to tailor our educational program based on the needs of the kids in those families, and it's very dynamic.
I understand that you, when you were a youngster, were a 4-H member then. Is it much different today than it was back then?
I think the core values that 4-H teaches today haven't changed that much. The activities have changed somewhat, like you say, some of the technologies and the ability for 4-H kids to access information has changed drastically.
What is it about 4-H that provides a growth in character? How do you do that?
Well, a lot of times through their 4-H project, the kids are learning responsibility, integrity, the ability to speak, and there's a lot of growth that the kids undergo over a period of time. That's also exciting for us to see as the adults that are responsible for them.
When you were a member, I know you were a farm boy, so you joined maybe because you were a farm boy. What did you learn at 4-H when you were a youngster?
Well, we spent a lot of time. I actually had Mrs. Rader down in Connick-and-Essing was my original 4-H leader, and I still see a lot of those kids that I was with in those days, 40-some years ago, 50-some years ago, actually. But a lot of times it had to do with showing and raising livestock at that time. It was a little more specific to those endeavors. But again, it just taught all of us how to grow. At that time, 50 years ago, there weren't a whole lot of other activities we were involved in, maybe scouts or some athletic programs, but 4-H was really a big deal for the rural kids. That was our social gathering.
Now, farming has changed so much over the years. Are the youngsters keeping up with those changes?
I think they are. The size and scope of a lot of farms, even here in Butler County, has grown. I think the animal projects and so forth have changed a little bit, but in essence, it's still very basic.
You said something a little bit earlier, a few seconds ago, that some youngsters are not farm boys or farm girls. Mm-hmm. They have rabbits and pets. So these are people who live in apartments or small houses?
Oh, they could be, you bet. Yeah, they don't necessarily need to have a farm or anything like that, as long as they have the opportunity to choose projects. We have kids with model rocket projects to robotics projects. So those are some of the things that 4-H has done over a period of time, is develop some new programming for those types of students also.
As a 4-H'er when you were a youngster and through now where you're still involved with 4-H, what has 4-H done for you?
Well, it really set me on the course. I started in 4-H when I was 8 years old. We were showing dairy cattle and beef cattle. I continued to grow through that. I had agricultural classes at Butler High School with Mr. John Graham. We attended activities at Penn State. I remember us driving up to Penn State one day, and he said, "You'll be here someday." And he was right. I ended up going to State College and got my agricultural degree, came back home here and taught agriculture in Butler for quite a few years. Had the opportunity to go back. I got my master's and my PhD from there. I'd have never thought that 50 years ago. That wasn't even a possibility. It wasn't even, even considered. But, I've grown into the program for sure.
Harold, it's good to talk to you. I think it's time for us to talk with your granddaughter and your daughter who are involved with 4-H as well.
That's correct, and I'm proud of that. Thank you.
Katie Coulter-Jan is also a leader in 4-H and also a parent of a member of 4-H. How long have you been involved with 4-H?
Oh, pretty much all of my life. I was a member for about 10 years, and then as soon as I finished being a member, I became a leader.
What did it teach you? How did it change you as a person?
Oh, I think it just gives you, lots of confidence to go into the world and, the public speaking that you get to do and, teaching other people about agriculture. It's a passion and, just all the different things you get experience to, at the local level, at the state level, national levels. The sky's the limit in 4-H.
Was your father your first leader?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I've had a lot of good ones, in between too, but he's absolutely one of the first ones and of course the best.
Do you remember your first impressions when you first became a member, what you learned and what you felt like?
Oh, I just, it's just, you just learn so much. And I guess whenever you find some projects that you're interested in, like I've showed horses and sheep and hogs and steers and, all kinds of different things. So whenever you find your niche and, what you love, it's great to have the support of 4-H.
Now, as a leader, you're not only involved with agricultural programs, but also some of the robotics and some of the technical things. Was that hard for you to grasp?
Oh, sure, yeah. But, 4-H provides a lot of the books that you need and the resources that you need, to follow through and, learn whatever you want to learn.
There are many people watching right now who are not interested in agriculture. They're not interested in what they thought 4-H was. Yes. What would you tell them that 4-H might have for them?
Oh, if you enjoy cooking, there's 4-H, you can do a project in cooking. If you like to sew, if you want to learn how to sew, if you want to plant a backyard garden, maybe you only live in the city and you just have a little area in your backyard. You can just do whatever you want to do. And, the extension office here has all the resources that you could possibly need for it.
What about relationships among the members?
Oh, we're like one big family. We spend a lot of time together at, the Big Butler Fair, at the farm show. These kids have so many, teen leader retreats that they can do, just all kinds of experience. And, some of the friends that I made whenever I was in 4-H, I'm still friends with. And now we have our kids that are joining 4-H. And so it's a great experience.
Now, the Boy Scouts have uniforms. The Girl Scouts have uniforms. Does 4-H have a uniform?
Our club and our county don't have uniforms. Some places in the United States do. Some they have to wear certain, shirts or hats or something like that. But there are dress codes that we like to follow so that kids stay safe in the ring while they're showing. They look presentable and look nice.
If you could very succinctly say why somebody watching today might consider becoming a member, what would you tell them?
Oh, I would just tell him that it's just brought on so many great life experiences. From what I learned, where I was young, it's helped me, go into college, get my master's degree, be a second grade teacher. It just all works together in life.
Thanks so much. It's good to talk to. Now we want to talk to Your daughter.
Yeah, Riley, that'd be great. Thank you.
Now let's talk to a member, a 10-year-old member of 4-H. She is Riley Coulter-Yan. We just talked to your mom, and she really enjoyed being in 4-H. How long have you been a member?
This is my 3rd year in 4-H.
Tell us about your first year.
It was a lot of fun just learning how to be a good friend and learning about sheep and pigs and just how to take care of them.
You live on a farm. Do you take care of sheep and pigs on the farm?
Yes.
So you should know everything there is. Why did you have to learn through 4-H?
It mostly helped me with my leadership skills and how to be a good sportsman and how to support others if they don't get where they want to, how to encourage them.
Tell us more about what you're learning about some of the animals that you deal with.
We learn about nutrition and how to keep them healthy and stuff like that.
Do you go to some of the farm shows or the Big Butler Fair, places like that?
Yeah, I show at the Big Butler Fair. I show at the farm show, and I also show at the State Farm Show in Harrisburg.
Have you ever won any ribbons?
Yes, multiple.
Which for what?
Some of them I've gotten them for Supreme Champion, Champion, Reserve Champion, first, second.
Supreme Champion. That sounds like big stuff. Tell us what it was for.
I usually get it for my sheep, mostly.
What do you do that's so wonderful with sheep that got you that big championship medal or ribbon?
Judges usually look for how well they lead to the showman and how well the animal looks, like how nice their muscle is and how much body and how long they are and stuff like that.
You really learned a lot. Now, it must have felt pretty good to get that ribbon, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Were you proud?
Yes, very.
Of course. It's good to talk to you. And one of these days, maybe when you become a leader, maybe we'll talk again. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So let's talk with one of the slightly older members of 4-H. Bailey Condos is very much involved with the local club, the local organization. When did you join?
I joined when I was 9 or 10 years old, so I've been in 4-H for about 9 or 10 years.
Did you join because you wanted to, or did somebody ask you to join and maybe kind of push you into it?
My mom kind of forced us to learn how to sewing because that's a skill that everyone needs to have. So,
What was your first experience as a 4-H'er?
I think attending my first sewing meeting was probably the first thing I've ever done, and getting to know the members there and the leaders and working on my first sewing project.
Well, most young people, as we all were, are self-conscious about meeting new people. We're not sure of ourselves. Did you feel that way? And if you did, how'd you get over it?
When I was younger, I was very shy, but 4-H really brought me out and out of my shell and made me the person I am today. So,
I understand you're involved with some state association meetings and also some national meetings. Tell us about the state programs that you go to.
So 4-H has many different state programs. They have Capital Days, State Achievement Days, and SLC, which is State Leadership Conference. And at those different events, we attend many workshops where they teach us about leadership or interview skills. And then they also, at Capital Days, we learn about how to make a bill and how to do parliamentary procedure and all the things that the government does. And at State Achievement Days, we get to participate and use our skills that we've learned throughout 4-H and compete at a statewide level. I did participate in questing out there, and it's just I basically run around Penn State's campus and figure out the different clues that they provide for us.
When you go to a state meeting, how long does it last?
They're normally 3 days long, at just in Harrisburg or at Penn State. So.
What about the federal programs?
National 4-H Congress is down in Atlanta, Georgia, and I went there for 5 days with people from all over Pennsylvania and all over the country, and you learn different workshops. I went to a dance workshop, and that's nothing I've ever done before. So I did dance, I did yoga, and you just kind of get to participate in different things. There's a community service program that everyone gets to participate in. I went to a school and I taught them about chickens and the chicken production, since Georgia is the #1 chicken producer in the state in the world.
So when you go to these state programs and these national programs, what kind of information do you bring back, and how does it help the local 4-H here?
I bring back just the information that I've learned from there, and I tell all my club members and my friends in 4-H and outside of 4-H that, hey, this is a pretty cool thing that I get to be involved in and the people that I get to work with. So,
Has 4-H over these years since you've been in it changed you as a person very much?
Very much. I used to be so shy, and I wouldn't want to talk to anybody, hide behind my mom all the time. But now I can talk to anybody and go sit through an interview and not be nervous, and just be able to connect with people better.
Do you expect that maybe one day you'll be a leader here as well?
Probably. I like to give back to the organization that raised me. So,
if you could describe 4-H for someone that knows nothing about it at all, how would you describe the organization?
So 4-H is a youth leadership organization that allows you to do different things and use the skills that maybe you didn't know you had, and to better yourself, and not only yourself but others and even the nation.
Thanks very much. Good to talk to you.
Good talking to you too.
And if you need some more information, on the bottom of your screen is some contact information if you want more about 4-H. I'm Larry Berg. We'll see you next time on Faces and Places.